Good morning, goats. How are you liking the snow? Hi, Ruby. Hi, Annie. Hi, Boulder. Hi. Hi, Marvin. Woof! Ready, run. Run. Away. Go. Run. Good morning, guys. So it is butcher day for rabbits. They're all going to freezer camp. I'll show you a bit of what I'm going to do and tell you about it, but I probably won't be showing any of the slaughter process. So we tractored the cage over here, put all the bunnies in it. There are a couple that are underweight of what I prefer them to be, but I've decided they're just all going to go today. What I want is 5 pounds at 12 weeks is my goal. So a few of these are really nice. Like this big gray one. I normally don't feed hay, but since we had some bloat issues with this batch, I have been feeding hay. I just don't like how dirty the cage is when I do feed the hay because it builds up on the bottom and then they poop on it. There's really gross poop pile I need to deal with. That's because of the hay. It just makes a nasty pack, so I'll have to sanitize the cages when I'm done with this. I'm going to be weighing them. I'm curious what I have for weights on this batch since they didn't do as well as normal. I'm using this baby scale. So I'll be dispatching them using the broomstick method. So you put a pipe behind their head and pull their legs up, causing a cervical dislocation. It's a very quick, fairly painless death. And then I will decapitate them so they bleed out and then process the meat. We have this bird feeder. It's a 4x4 cemented into the ground. This is where I like to do my skinning and gutting. So you put the rabbit's back hock in here after they've been dispatched, and it allows me to pull down to skin. Gives me some leverage. So ideally a 5 pound live weight rabbit will give me a 3 pound carcass with the bone in. So we'll see how these end up. This is my first time doing this since we put in the wood shed. The wood's now in my way for doing it how I was doing it, so I'll be using this cement stair top. This is the pipe I like to use. It goes behind the ears. You step on both sides of the pipe and then you pull the back legs upwards to dispatch. I'll be live weighing them before I do this every time, and then I'll be walking them over to the rope so that I can bleed skin and gut. I have one of these buckets underneath for catching all of the garbage stuff, all the intestines, gross stuff, blood. This is the rest of my kit. I'll be filling this pot with cold water, and that's where the rabbit meat will go when I'm done. And then these are the only other tools I use. A knife, some tin snips, and this gut hook, which they don't sell anymore, but I really like this style, if you can find something similar. Works really good for opening up the skin and the gut cavity without tearing into any of the organs or the bladder or anything else. Okay, we're over a pound on this one, so that's good. So at this point, the rabbit is dead. It has no head. I used the tin snips to cut off the front legs and the tail. Now I'll be skinning it and gutting it. So at this point, it's meat. The rabbit's gone. So I use the knife around under the rope to cut through the skin around the ankles. Don't cut too deep. If you cut the foot off, it makes it a lot harder to skin. You don't want to cut through the tendons. Pull it down, you can see the meat. At this point, I use the gut hook. I make a V-cut along the inner thighs on both sides, and then I pull the hide off. I'm gonna put my knife away. Just right under the skin, cut down. This is a good method to use if you want to preserve the hide. But even if you don't, I find it to be one of the cleaner methods to not get as much fur on your meat. This one's female. Sometimes with males, it takes a little bit more effort to get around here without ripping the gut cavity open because of the genitals. Now you just gently pull it off. Just to separate the skin from the fat here. Just pull down. I wrap the skin around my hands like this. Just pull it off. So if you want to save this, you can roll it up as is. You can stick it in the freezer to tan later, or you can tan it immediately. Now I'm going to take my knife between the hips, right next to the tail. You'll still have a little fluff of tail on there. I'm going to take the thick part of the blade, push down to open up the hips. You can see that. And you're going to pull the tail fluff down through the hips. That pulls the intestines out of the hip area. At this point, I take my gut hook, make sure it's not hairy. I put it in the open hole next to the intestines there. I open up the gut cavity all the way down. You can pull this gently out. This has a lot of fat in it. You can choose to keep that in your meat or you can dispose of it. I put my finger behind this vein that's right next to the spine. I like to pull that out now. You pull everything downwards and out of the rabbit. You want to be careful not to burst the bladder. This one had a really tiny bladder, so it's just not an issue. You can see in here, these two are the kidneys. You can keep those and eat them. You can feed them to your dog. Pull down. Dispose of the guts into the bucket. What's left is the liver right here. Zoom in on it.
You super.
Okay. This part of the liver is the gallbladder. You want to remove that if you're eating it. Save those organs. So now we're going to remove the diaphragm. It's this thin muscle here that covers the lungs and the heart. Use your hands to pull the lungs and the heart and the trachea out. You can eat the heart. I give all of these organs to the dog. Boris enjoys them. They're all a very healthy color. The lungs should be as light pink. The heart should be a nice dark color like the liver. No spots. Now I'm just going to go remove some of this fat, and then I will take my tin snips and cut it off at the angles, rinse them, and it'll be all done. So here's the end result of the rabbit that was 5 pounds, 2.5 ounces. I removed most of the fat from the meat. It's going to go in the cold water in the pan now. Everything looked beautiful. So from that first rabbit, this is what I'm going to be giving Boris for his dinner. There was a lot more fat than normal on the rabbit. These are the kidneys. They're the right color. This is the liver. That's how it should look. This on the liver, if you're eating it, should be removed. It's the gallbladder. Careful not to pop it onto your meat. And if you do, clean the meat really well, because that's going to contain bile. It does not taste good. The light pink are the lungs. And that's the heart. So Boris also enjoys eating the raw heads, feet, and tails. So those are really good for him. You can just give it raw, fresh, bone in. Cooked bone is where you get dangerous, where you don't want to risk getting shards of bone, but raw rabbit bone is good for them. So I now have 12 less rabbits I need to feed every day, and 12 rabbits that'll be headed to the freezer soon. So they ended up being pretty good sizes. I was concerned that they were getting undersized, but when I weighed them all, it ended up being that a few were a pound over what I wanted, and a few were smaller. So it made everyone else look small, but the majority of them were right where I wanted them, right at like 5 pounds. So it was a good day. Hi, Boris. Go to your pen. Go. So I'm out milking late, and I have a lovely surprise. Delta just gave me some new bunnies. I'm going to go and check on them. None of the other ladies have been interested in breeding, so I don't expect any other bunnies for a while. I'm just going to keep trying to put them in with the buck, and hopefully someone gets interested soon. Hi, good mama. What do you have in there? It's a cold night. I'm glad you made such a pretty nest. You pulled lots of fur. All right, let me see them. All right, what do we have in here, mama? Oh. They look gorgeous. All right, I'm gonna put the camera down so I can count them, get them back warm. Okay, they're all nestled back in under their blankie. She gave me 9 beautiful little babies. Good job, Mom. You did good. Hi, good girl. So these are the 3 smallest rabbits that I butchered. They're a lot smaller than I normally would like them to be. So I'm going to cook them all together for dinner today. I have them over a bed of cubed butternut squash. I'm going to spread some cream of mushroom soup on top and cover it in stuffing and bake them till they're at temperature. So I spread the cream of mushroom soup on top of them. Normally I use mayonnaise, but I don't have any right now. So I made 2 boxes of the stuffing according to box instructions. We're going to bake it at 375 until it's at temperature, a minimum of 140, but really you can let it go and it can be cooked up to 190, 200 on the meat and have it still be tender. It's going to be baked for the first, until it's up to temperature, and then the last 15 minutes we'll uncover it to make the stuffing more crisp.